guys, welcome to what can hopefully be the last video that you have to watch, but this is important information on understanding Shakespeare, which is going to be super important for the next 4 weeks because that's what we're going to be talking about for that entire time. So, in order to successfully watch this video, you need to find this packet that you picked up on Friday titled How to Understand Shakespeare's Words, this worksheet that you picked up on Friday that has the character list on it, this worksheet that has the opening to Romeo and Juliet on it, and then I need you to get a blank sheet of paper that you're going to keep with your character list because we're going to take some notes that need to go with the character list, okay? So go get those papers so that we can continue with this video. Once you have those papers, we're going to start by talking about how to understand Shakespeare's words. Okay, so here are some things about Shakespeare. He tends to use some words that we don't still use today. Some he made up, some he just added weird endings onto, some are just words that they used to use in that time period, or if they fit the syllable marker that he needed to hit for his poetry in his language, that's why he used those words. So this packet gives you a set of 10 words that are normal phrases that you'll see a lot in Shakespeare, and then we talk about what they mean. So I want you to read through this packet, and as you can see, the top 10 most common phrases that we have. So the very first one is thee, thou, thine, thine. Okay? So this really just means you and your. That's who we're talking about. Whenever they use those words, the person they're talking about, or the person they're talking to, they're just saying you and your when they're saying that. Number 2 is art, which is just R, okay? Number 3 is I, okay? So you say it I, A-Y, it's pronounced I, and it means yes. Like if someone says I, to something, they're saying yes, I agree with that. When they use would, it oftentimes means wish, so I would I were there, I wish I were there. Give me leave to means allow me to. So if it was like, give me leave to do this, allow me to do this, allow me to go here. Alas means unfortunately, like alas, I couldn't come to class today, so that means unfortunately. Whenever you see a Jew, number 7, that means goodbye. Sirrah means sir, okay, or mister. It's just like, it's a royalty or just an appropriate professional greeting when they use that. And then if he adds eth onto something, it really just means the word. So he could say, speaketh about something, and it just means to speak. And then number 10, don't, do, and did. Now, it goes through and it tells you, a key absence from Shakespearean English is don't. The word simply wasn't used around then. So if you said, don't be afraid to a friend in England, you would have said, be not afeard. Where today we would say, don't hurt me, Shakespeare would have said, hurt me not. And that just means don't do this, okay? It's a different way to reword it. So I want you to go ahead and read through this whole packet about what they have to say about Shakespeare's words, and then on Monday we're going to keep this packet out when we're reading and performing in class because then you can reference it and know what he's talking about. Because really the key to understanding Shakespeare is just to dig to the words that you actually know and then try and gain meaning from those words. So if you have a list of the 10 most common that he uses, then this will help you understand when we're reading in class. Okay, the next thing that we're going to move on to is we're going to talk about the character list. So you need to have this sheet out that has the characters on it, and you also need to have a blank sheet of paper. And the reason why you need to have the blank sheet of paper is because we need to categorize which characters fall under which house. Because in Romeo and Juliet, we're going to be talking about 2 houses, okay? The houses of the Montagues, M-O-N-T-A-G-U-E, and the houses of the Capulets, C-A-P-U-L-E-T, okay? And most of our characters are going to fall into either house, and you have to keep them separate because the houses are fighting. So you need to know who belongs in each house. So that's why I want you to keep this sheet of paper with your character notes because we're going to be talking about the different characters and you need to remember who they belong to. So our very first character at the top is Romeo. He is our first character because he's our protagonist, he's the main person in the story, we're going to be talking about him a lot, okay? And Romeo is a Montague. he belongs to the House of Montague. Okay? He is the son of Sir Montague and Lady Montague. Okay, the next person on your list is Juliet, because she is also another very important character in this play. I mean, it is called Romeo and Juliet, so obviously she's going to be important. So, Juliet belongs to the house of Capulet. And that's an easy way to remember it. You can say, Juliet is a Capulet, okay? And it rhymes, and you can remember it. She is the daughter of Sir Capulet and Lady Capulet. So you can already see the problem because I said the houses were feuding. Okay, we're going to skip Friar Lawrence on your character list. Go down to Mercutio. Mercutio is Romeo's best friend, so he's going to go on the House of Montague. So he's Romeo's BF, and you should probably include that on your character list notes. Just like you should have included that Romeo's the protagonist of the story, Juliet is another major character in the story, onto your notes. Okay, the nurse that's next on your notes is the person who takes care of Juliet. So she belongs to the Capulets because she is Juliet's caretaker, which you should add on the notes that you have for your character list. She is her caretaker. The next person we have on the list is Tybalt. He is Juliet's cousin, so he also goes on the Capulet side. Okay, and then obviously the next person is Capulet. Okay, so Capulet goes over here. He is the leader of the house. And then if you flip your character notes over, then we have Lady Capulet, who is married to Sir Capulet. And she's Juliet's mom. Okay, then we have Montague, who belongs to the House of Montague. He's obviously the head of that house. And then we have Lady Montague, who is obviously Romeo's mom. Okay, the next person that we have on the list is Paris. Now, here's a twist. Paris comes into this play wanting to marry Juliet. So even though the play is called Romeo and Juliet, Paris comes in wanting to marry her. So Paris is going to go on the Capulet side because he wants to marry Juliet. Paris hearts Juliet. Okay, then we have Benvolio, who is Romeo's cousin, so he goes on the Montague side. Okay, and then skip down to the bottom where we have Balthazar, and he goes on the Montague side because he is a servant and close to Romeo. Okay, so he is Romeo's servant and close to him. Okay, so the two people that we skipped, the friar, the reason we skipped him is because he is going to help both sides. So you should put him in the middle up here because he is going to aid both sides. And then, flip back to the back, the other person that we skipped is the prince. And the reason we skipped him is because the prince is in charge of Verona, where this takes place. So he is in charge of both the Montagues and the Capulets. He's the head honcho. So he goes at the very, very top. Everyone has to listen to him. He's the head guy. Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to write that on the separate sheet of paper and carry that to class with the character list. And then you should have filled in on the character list little things that I said about each character. And on Monday, we're going to talk more in depth about the characters when we start reading the play. Okay, the very last thing that I want you to do is I want you to take out the chorus opening to Romeo and Juliet. They oftentimes start with a chorus at the beginning, and this is just kind of like a prologue to the play. And what this does is, a lot of times in that time period, people couldn't see the play from where they were. If they had to stand and watch, sometimes they were in the back and they couldn't see it. So the chorus gives an overview of what the play is going to be about so that if people missed something, they would know what was going on and they could catch themselves back up. So the key to understanding Shakespeare and his language is to, like I said, find the word that you can figure out the meaning of and then kind of go from there. So the very first part of the chorus opening says, two households, both alike in dignity. Now, we already said that this story is about the Montagues and the Capulets. So those are our two households we're talking about. When it says both alike in dignity, you want to find the word alike, so that means they're similar. And then you look at the word dignity and you think, where have I seen that word before? How could that word be used? And the way they're using it right here is that they're saying in like royalty or money stature. So they're saying two households, Montagues and the Capulets, are both similar in their power or their monetary status, okay? So they're at the same level. That's the very first line. Now, notice how I left all of this space in between these lines? That's so that you can go through and kind of translate for this so that we can talk about understanding Shakespeare. The second line says, in fair Verona, where we lay our scene. So, where we lay our scene, this is the setting, and it's in Verona, Italy. From ancient grudge, break to new mutiny. So the word ancient means old, right? And grudge means like a fight or an argument. So we know that this feud between the Montagues and the Capulets has been going on a long time. And now it's saying break to new mutiny. So there's going to be a new fight that breaks out. Where civil blood makes civil hands unclean. Okay, so civil as in civilian, so they're going to be people who are civilians, so it won't be the prince. And then, you know, have you ever heard the phrase where someone has blood on their hands and it means they're guilty? That's what they're saying here. Civil blood makes civil hands unclean. So they're saying that somebody is going to kill somebody else, and so they're going to have their blood on their hands. Okay, so that's what you have to do to understand Shakespeare, is to kind of just hone in on the words that you understand and go through it that way. So I did those first ones for you. I want you, this is your homework now, to go through and do the rest of these lines and kind of translate to what they mean underneath of them. And then on Monday we'll go through it and we'll start reading the play in class and we'll start talking about all of the characters. I know you can do this. I know the language is a little bit difficult, but I know you can understand it. Remember at the end of this video to click on the actual title of the lesson and mark it as done so that I can see who watched it and who didn't. And remember to bring all these notes to class on Monday. I hope you have a great weekend, and I'll see you soon.